Welcome to Grizzly Tales for Gruesome Kids, a series of cautionary tales for lovers of scream. Ignore Spindleshanks, he's just showing off. There are spiders in this tale, you see. It's called... You can stop now, Spindleshanks. You can stop now. It's called a Tangled Web. Nigel was annoying. What with his funny little clicking noises, his scary eye rolls, and that ghastly habit he had of gawping. "You look like a post box," his mother would cry. Nigel would reply by clicking his tongue. "If the wind changes, your face will get stuck." Nigel would reply by rolling the whites of his eyes. "Oh, please stop catching flies, Nigel." And Nigel would reply, "But I'm a spider." Nigel had an unnatural passion for spiders. I don't mean that he collected them, as some children collect stamps or marbles, because he didn't. His mother once asked him why he was so cruel to spiders if he was supposed to be a spider himself. "My name is Black Widow Nigel," he hollered, "and Black Widow Nigel eats spiders for breakfast." "I don't know where he gets it from," said Nigel's father, sprinkling the wings of a dozen houseflies over his cereal. Nigel was waiting to catch a fly when Ariadne slipped into his bedroom. She was looking for somewhere safe to spin a web and have her babies. Although she didn't know it, Ariadne could not have chosen a more dangerous spot. Nigel's nose twitched. His eyes rolled down. He swallowed and licked his lips. Fly catching forgotten, the spider hunt was on. After spinning her web, Ariadne took a rest. Her stomach was swollen with hundreds of baby spiders, and it would not be long now before she gave birth. She fell into a deep sleep and dreamt of baby crows with 8 legs and a washing line hung with 1,000 wet nappies. Ariadne woke with a start, but before she could run, the hunter sprang his trap. "Let me out, please, let me out," she squealed, but Nigel didn't understand spider speak. Not that he would have listened even if he had. He sniggered as Ariadne dropped painfully onto her back. "I expect you're cold," he said, clicking his tongue. "I expect you want warming up." "You're burning my feet," she cried as she tried to climb out of the jar, but the sides were too slippery. And Nigel smirked as the spider's lights went out for good. The next morning, Nigel dropped the lifeless spider into the back of a dust cart, which carried her off to her final resting place, the Corporation Dump, wedged between a festering fish head and a maggot-infested peach. Ugh. "Nigel, please close your mouth," said his mother at dinner that night. And stop rolling your eyes. How many times do we have to tell you, if the wind changes...
My face will stick, I know, I can't help it.
Well, try, or I'll send you to bed. As darkness fell on the rubbish tip, a fish head stirred, a maggoty peach rolled to one side, and a dead spider turned over in her grave. Suddenly, thousands of pale white spiders burst out of Ariadne's cold belly. But they were not flesh and blood like you and me, for they too had died. They were a ghostly army, 40,000 legs strong, waiting for the wind to carry them off to Nigel's house.
Nigel was not eating his pudding.
Go to bed, shrieked his mother suddenly.
What?
I warned you! Any more faces and off to bed?
You'll only have yourself to blame if the wind changes,
came the distant voice of Nigel's father. Oh, shut up, thought Nigel as he climbed the stairs to bed, all by himself. Outside, the wind did change direction. As usual, Nigel was sleeping with his mouth wide open. He was snoring so loudly that he didn't hear the wind whip round and rattle his open window. The ghostly spiders floated on the breeze and were wafted into his bedroom, where the windy fingers dropped them one by one into that gaping, snoring hole in the middle of Nigel's face. The spiders spent a busy night in Nigel's chest. Although uninvited, they quickly made themselves at home by spinning their delicate webs around his ribs. When Nigel woke up, his chest was tight, as if he had a bad cold, and it hurt him when he breathed. Where had that spider come from? And why was something tickling his throat? Surely not! He let out a feeble scream. The spiders were coming out of his mouth. At breakfast that morning, Nigel's parents noticed that Nigel kept his mouth firmly closed. "Learnt your lesson?" said his mother smugly.
"Oh, never open my mouth again."
And he never did. From that day onwards, Nigel kept his mouth tightly shut for fear that another spider might pop out. He stopped rolling his eyes and clicking his tongue as well. He took up knitting instead. He had no idea why he did it. He just knew that he had to. It was instinctive. Just like a spider spinning its web. Right, that's it. I now declare this room a spider-free zone. It pays to know your nursery rhymes.